Welcome to New York's #2 sports show. The Rangers lose to the Carolina Hurricanes by a score of 4-3. They were 10-0 coming into this game when leading after two periods. That comes to an end. They had a 3-2 lead after two, and they allowed 2 goals in the third period to lose the game. Carolina is the better team, and the Rangers have had success against Carolina in recent years. I mean, that's pretty well documented, obviously in the playoffs specifically, but even in the regular season. And the Rangers almost kind of came away with one of those classic wins against Carolina where Carolina controlled most of the play. Now, it wasn't like it was, because we've seen in the past, even in the best of times, where Carolina's style of play, they'll just hem the Rangers in. And that was happening for sure. Carolina deserved to win. They were the better team. But considering how poorly the Rangers have been playing lately, it's not as if they got completely dominated. All that being said, I don't think if you're a Ranger fan, you feel good coming out of this one. Sure, an improvement upon the other games. Maybe they somehow can take that into, the back-to-back set Friday and Saturday, the 2 matinee games. But yeah, Igor was not great in this one. And that's, we don't usually throw him into the mix. Certainly this season, he's been much more of a positive than a negative. But again, I feel like his overall game has not been amazing lately. And forget about like his, impending free agent status. Like that aside, because I know like it's been a bit divisive as far as that goes. Like he is someone that everything being equal, you obviously want on your team. He is one of the best goalies in the league. However, I would say goals 1 and 3 weren't the best of goals. And it's the veterans that were really nowhere to be found in this game. Like the 3 goal scorers in this game, Johnny Brodzinski, Brett Berard, congrats to him on his first NHL goal, and Adam Edstrom. So that's the thing, is the likes of Mika Zibanejad continue to give you basically next to nothing. Defensive pair-wise, they went back to the originals, a.k.a. Lindgren with Fox and Miller with Trouba. And there's nowhere to win here because Lindgren with Trouba was a disaster, but like Miller with Trouba isn't any good either. That's a bad pair. Not that Lindgren Fox is anything to write home about, but to me, like specifically Miller Trouba, that's not good. Anyone that Trouba plays with, you feel that way, but like the stats bear it out as well. Like that is not something that's going to work. And so when you look at it, the Rangers are now 12-8-1 with this, 4-game skid, and just the whole feel is different than it had been when you look at the standings. Like, you have 3 teams that are unequivocally better than the Rangers at this point, in Carolina, Washington, and the Devils for now in the first quarter of the season. But we can't say that we're totally surprised based on the fact that they were winning games where they were getting just great goaltending and not really playing all that well. So, and I don't necessarily think changes are on the horizon. Believe me, I'm very open to those, and would be interested in seeing what they could do. I don't think it's going to be that easy. Definitely not this time of the season. You don't really see those type of big name moves. I mean, maybe a 1-for-1 type of deal like that. That can happen every now and then, but not ones where there's big, cap ramifications. In other words, like where one team is picking up $4-5 million. It's more, things where it's similar contracts or there's retention or there's major retention. So we'll see. What doesn't help either, Philip Hedl continues to be out. I can't stress enough how Philip Hedl being out of the lineup, it's a major thing. Somehow the Rangers last year were able to really still be very successful without Hedl, but you're seeing that. Chris Kreider is now out 2 straight games, and as much as he is, a big topic of conversation as far as the trade front, Kreider, if utilized properly, is certainly someone that you'd want in the lineup. Not to say that he was really playing all that well before he got hurt, but yeah, so no Hedl, no Kreider. They sent Rempe down, called up Chad Ruedel, so Ruedel the 7th defenseman, but Rempe down, so Brodzinski's back in the lineup. And that's just really what is better. Matt Rempe, for my money, it's like we're going to see him here and there against certain opponents and certain matchups, but I'm just as fine. I understand the spark that can be provided in the different element, but again, I'm totally fine with him being in Hartford. I think that's for the best. But So this is a game where, like I said, you make that defensive pair switch. Um, Even though to me, again, Jones Steiner is like the most consistent pair, and they just don't really get the ice time that they deserve. So, um, yeah, it's not even close. 14-21 for Schneider, 15-18 for Jones, and then it's all around 20 to 23 minutes for the other four defensemen. And it's just, again, it's like politics, and it's, based on seniority and not exactly who deserves to play. That's the problem that I'm having right now with Peter Laviolette, where Mika Zibanejad in a 6-on-5 situation is an automatic to play at the end. I'm sorry, that should not be the case. And I understand that Kreider's out, but even if Kreider was playing, Zibanejad would be on, and Cooley wouldn't be the one that's out there. So as far as the lines were concerned, basically what we had saw last game, other than Brodzinski for Rempe. So the Trocheck line, which, they were basically kind of shut down in this game. And I've been saying that line, it's not been giving you enough. Zibanejad in the middle of Cooley and Berard, and Kakko centering Edstrom and Riley Smith. Kakko did get hurt for a little bit. I think he was blocking a shot, but he came back, so he seems okay. And then the fourth line was Carrick centering Vesey and Brodzinski. In net for Carolina was Spencer Martin, who is a career kind of journeyman minor leaguer, like third goalie most of the time. And Spencer Martin, kind of gets the better of Igor Shesterkin. Not that Martin was really all that good. It was 30 shots to 22 in favor of Carolina. So the Rangers don't give up 40 for the first time, because they had given up at least 40 shots on goal in that 3-game losing streak. It's the special teams battle that Carolina wins. And we know that Carolina does have, I'm not sure if the numbers match it. I think they must have pretty good special teams this year. I didn't get a look at that. But Carolina gets 2 power play goals. Rangers go 0 for 2 in the power play. Carolina 2 for 4. That is the difference in this game. So as much as the Hurricanes, for my money, were the better team and controlled the play, it was those 2 power play goals that really got them the victory here. So as far as this game goes, it starts out with Carolina taking the lead. And that's been a thing against the Rangers, where they are getting off to slow starts. And that certainly happens here. Carolina was at their best early, and it's Jack Drury, the nephew of president and general manager Chris Drury, with the goal. His 3rd goal of the season from Marty Necas and Dmitry Orlov. So less than 5 minutes in, 1-0 Carolina. It's an off-angle goal. It's a nice pass by Necas and Drury, and Kakko was near Jack Drury. Drury takes a shot, kind of it like deflects off of Igor's helmet and in, or his mask, goalie mask, and in. So yeah, like I think it's one that, like, Igor positionally just wasn't quite right in this game. Like, when I think about the bad goals that he gave up, it's just he wasn't technically sound. So that makes it 1-0 Carolina. Then at 7:56, Zach Jones hooks Jackson Blake. We'll talk about Jackson Blake later, the son of former Islander Jason Blake. So a little bit of some family connections here in the case of Drury and Blake. But the Rangers kill that off. Then at 11:13, Jack Drury slashes Riley Smith. Rangers don't score on that power play. They do, however, tie it up. At 17:38, it's the 4th line with a goal. Johnny Brodzinski scoring his 2nd goal of the season from Vesey and Lindgren. So a pretty unlikely combination. Lindgren is able to kind of put it behind the net. Vesey cycles a little bit, throws it in front, and Johnny Brodzinski with a nice wrist shot for the goal ties it up at 1. The Rangers do take a key penalty, though. At 19:12, Will Cooley holds Brent Burns. And the Rangers in certain spots had a tough time clearing the zone. And in this case, it was Brett Berard who maybe 10, 15 seconds before it, just maybe not, I'm not sure if it was just not the right decision or just not great execution, but Berard unable to get the pass that was needed. And with 1 second left on the power play, let me see here. It's interesting. For some reason, unless my math is off, but it should not be, the penalty was at 19:12, and it says the goal was at 1:13. So, but anyway, right now it's down as a power play goal. It was as it was just about to expire. Seth Jarvis scores his 6th goal of the season from Necas and Aho. A nice setup, but just way too easy. The puck goes through like Lindgren kind of being the biggest one that kind of messes up, I think, but really all four deserve some blame. I think it was Trocheck, Vesey, Lindgren, and Trouba that were on, where it was just they go into the zone and just with no really resistance, and they weren't able to stop. They were not able to use a stick or do anything to stop it, and it ends up being a pretty nice goal. And Jarvis is the one that scores it to make it 2-1 Carolina there. But the Rangers do tie it up at 9:13. So 8 minutes later, Brett Berard scores his first goal of his NHL career, assisted by Cooley and Zach Jones. So this is where Braden Steiner makes a nice play defensively to prevent a goal or a good chance, and gives some credit to Zach Jones for just a quick, nice pass to Cooley, and then Cooley finds Berard. So it's a 2-on-1, Berard and Zibanejad, and good on Berard to take the shot. That's what I wanted him to do. I would feel much more comfortable with him there than Mika. And it's Spencer, not a great goal by Spencer Martin, but I want to give some credit to Berard on a pretty, nifty, quick wrist shot. And so the rookie with his first goal of his career in his first road game. So a goal and assist in 2 games for Brett Berard. Again, I see a lot of promise with him. And so that makes it 2-2, and nice to see Will Cooley get on the score sheet again as well. And then at 15:33, Keandre Miller trips Jackson Blake, but the Ranger power play kills it off, and the Rangers take the lead. Their first lead of the game at 18:49. It's another youngster, Adam Edstrom, with his second goal of the season, assisted by Riley Smith and Adam Fox. So Edstrom, really hasn't done a whole lot lately. He hasn't been bad, but it's, he's been a little bit quiet, I guess. And this is a nice play by Riley Smith, really hustling to get the puck and beating Dmitry Orlov. So against Smith, I am probably more positive on Riley Smith than maybe most. Like I see things that he does, little things that make a difference, and a little bit of skill and a little bit of compete. And so Riley Smith again beats Orlov, a nice little backhand pass, and Edstrom scores past Martin to give the Rangers a 3-2 lead. They take that lead in the third, and again they were 10-0 when leading after 2 periods this season. That's a nice stat, perfect stat. But that goes away. And not even to the point where it's 10-0-1, 10-1. A regulation loss ensues. In the third period, at 3:34, Will Carrier high sticks Vincent Trocheck. And this is where just a bad power play. That's where you could have made it 4-2. And I will say, there was a couple of opportunities. Actually, Jacob Trouba, I believe, hit the post. So there was a spot where they could have made it 4-2. However, Carolina ties it up at 9:54. Kotkaniemi scores his third goal of the season from Robinson and Gostisbehere. This is one that Igor wants to have back. So it was Miller and Trouba that were on, but I'm not going to really totally put it on them. Kotkaniemi goes around the net, around the left side, and just puts it, towards Igor, and it kind of like goes off of his stick and just past the line. Again, it's one where it's unfortunate because Carolina has the puck possession, but Igor, I think if he's a little bit more sound, is able to prevent that from going in. So that ties it up at 3. And then there's a penalty on Vincent Trocheck at 10:30. He hooks Seth Jarvis. A couple things here. Trocheck, I think, is probably known by the officials as taking a lot of stick infraction penalties. So I'll say that. However, I didn't love this call even when I saw it, just because Trocheck hooks Jarvis well before he actually falls down. It was almost like it was 2 separate occurrences, if you will. I understand why they called it, but I kind of felt like it was an incorrect call. Ultimately, though, Carolina scores the power play goal, and it's Jackson Blake. His 7th goal of the season from Drury, and Jack Roslovic, the former Ranger. Jack Roslovic's had a really good season with Carolina. Only his 2nd assist, actually. Roslovic's been scoring a ton of goals for them this season. But Jackson Blake, and from what I remember, Jason Blake, and when he was on the Islanders, the Rangers were not very good in that portion of time. Kind of in the early to mid 2000s. But I remember him scoring a lot of goals against the Rangers, and his son is already at it. And this was just way too easy of a goal, a power play goal. And it's one that somewhat similarly to the power play goal earlier by Carolina, where it was kind of in transition. It wasn't so much them setting up shop in the zone. It was a quick play where just way too much room for Blake to just walk right on in and score. Like that one for Igor, it's like nothing he could really do there. And it gives Carolina a 4-3 lead. And the biggest disappointment of all is that really the Rangers got nothing going once they were trailing. And that's kind of like how it was against Calgary and St. Louis on this losing streak where they trail and they're only down by like one, maybe two in the case of St. Louis at some point, but it was one before that. And just not a whole lot to show for it. 6-on-5, but even then, nothing. And I just wish that Zibanejad wasn't in late. I know that, again, there's no surprise there, right? Just know that. But I just think that there were others that were certainly more deserving and could have maybe given something a little bit different. And not to say that guys like Vincent Trocheck to me has been a disappointment. Alexi Lafreniere has been quiet lately. Panarin was quiet tonight. So, I think it's easy to blame certain people and they deserve it, but let's also not forget some of the others. It's the veterans and the guys that should be doing more that aren't. And that's the disappointing thing. Some of the younger players and less heralded ones, they're actually doing some things. So anyway, Rangers lose, 4-game losing streak for them. A tough loss against Carolina. Not embarrassing by any means, but one that they could have had and maybe in years past would have had, but not here, not the way the Rangers are playing now. So now it'll be a couple of matinee games, one on Black Friday at Philly. That's been a matchup that we've seen quite often, Black Friday at the Flyers. And then on Saturday at MSG against Montreal. So this will be a split between Igor and Quick. Not really sure who will get, I'm not going to speculate on which game it'll be for each, but rest assured, it'll be one for Shesterkin, one for Quick. And the Rangers got to get out of this. 4-game losing streak. Last year, the Rangers only one time did they have a losing streak of at least 3 games. So we're already in kind of uncharted territory. And yeah, things are not looking so great. And definitely a tough loss to a team that you care about. If you're a Ranger fan, Carolina's one. That's a team that you circle. Certainly Carolina does for the Rangers. And these two teams, it's a bit of a rivalry at this point when you play this much in the playoffs. And these are two of the better teams in the Metropolitan Division in recent years. So Rangers go to Raleigh. They are unable to keep the lead in the third period. Hurricanes win it 4-3. And now the Rangers will come home for Thanksgiving, and then they will take on the Flyers for a Black Friday matinee game in Philly.